In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. When I was a young single guy, anxious, not at all sure of myself, horrible at dating, I was also a young college student in a small private Christian college in the Detroit area. This was the early 2000s, and it was the heyday of all kinds of advice on Christian dating in the evangelical world. We were all told we should be praying for our future spouse, that God had already picked this person out for us. We needed to be faithful, that God would show that person to us in God's own time. There was even a song, I have to admit, it took me far too long on Google to find a song, but I found it. A song by a brother and sister group called LaRue that was titled Someday. The song began, I don't know if you're near or far away, but I know that I'm thinking of you today. I don't know if I even know your name, but I know that I'm praying for you just the same. Someday we'll fall in love. You'll be mine and I will be yours. Our hearts will be one and our love will ever endure. Remember, this person has no idea who they're singing about, this possible future. You see, what you have to understand is the line between romantic and creepy was very thin in those days. I feel like I'm getting shades of that song and that perspective on romance when we hear the first lesson for today, the story of Isaac and his marriage to Rebekah. As we hear this story of a servant sent on a mission to find a wife for Abraham's son, you might be left wondering, is this a love story of sorts? Is this a business negotiation? What with the gifts and the cajoling? Is this God's will being worked out providentially? God's providence made manifest through signs and camels and a ring on the nose? Other than it being an important story for Isaac in his own life, obviously, why exactly is it that the lectionary chose this story for us today as we follow the narrative of the patriarchs in the first lesson during these early summer weeks? Some of the larger narrative might help us out here. Remember, Abraham is very old at this point. He was 100 years old when Isaac was born, and according to rabbinic commentary, Isaac was 40 years old when his father set out to find him a wife. We don't know why Isaac is still single at the age of 40. This would not be a strange thing today, but in ancient times this would have been unheard of. Most likely, though, Isaac is still single because of his father's fears. When Abraham calls his servant to him in chapter 24 at the beginning, a servant who Torah commentators identify as being Eliezer of Damascus. If you remember, the one Abraham was afraid would inherit everything if Abraham died childless. Abraham makes Eliezer swear that he won't find a wife for Isaac from the local Canaanite people where they live, but that instead he will travel back to the land of Abraham's family so that Isaac's wife can be from Abraham's people. Eliezer hesitates, worried that he'll make the journey and the woman he finds will want to come back with him to Canaan to marry some stranger, Isaac. And Abraham tells him if the woman refuses, he'll be free from his oath. So it's possible then that Isaac's not yet married because his father has kept him from marrying one of the Canaanite women from where they currently live. But at this point, Sarah has already died. Abraham is 140 years old and he knows he's close to death himself. He knows that if Isaac doesn't find a wife and have a child, that the entire promise of descendants and land and the entire promise upon which his life has been centered will be lost. So Eliezer gathers 10 of Abraham's camels, along with all kinds of choice gifts, and he sets out for Abraham's ancestral home in Aram Naharaim, northeast of Canaan. When he finally gets there in the evening, he's worried that he will fail in this task. Eliezer has been with Abraham for decades, serving him faithfully. Torah commentators think that it was Eliezer who went out with Abraham when he rescued Abraham's nephew Lot. They had been close for a long time. Eliezer prays that God will grant him success, that God will demonstrate his steadfast love for Abraham by showing Eliezer the woman Isaac is to marry. He says that it should be the woman who, when he, Eliezer, asks for a drink of water, tells him that not only may he drink, but she will also water Eliezer's camels. A kind gesture of hospitality, but make no mistake, one that would have been a tremendous amount of work. Thirsty camels can drink up to 30 gallons of water in 10 minutes. So with 10 camels, you can do the math on what it would mean to offer to water them. So when Rebekah says, yes, let me give you something to drink, and your camels look thirsty. Let me water them too. This is a gesture of tremendous time and work. When Rebekah goes out of her way to be kind to the stranger in her land, Eliezer knows she is the one God has chosen for Isaac. Her brother Laban is more than happy to accept the gifts from Abraham if his sister wants to consent to the marriage. Eliezer wants to return immediately with Rebekah, but Laban actually resists the idea. We didn't hear that in the lesson, but that's in some of the verses they snipped out. Laban prefers that she stays home a bit longer, maybe another 10 days, but he leaves the decision up to Rebekah, who says that she will go immediately, right now. She adds her own servants and camels to Eliezer's caravan, and they journey back to Canaan. We're told Isaac's walking in the field. He looks up and sees the approaching caravan, and without knowing who he is, when Rebekah saw Isaac, the text says she slipped quickly from her camel. The Hebrew word translated as slipped quickly from is tifol, from the root word nafal. It actually literally means to fall. So she saw Isaac, and not knowing that yet that he was her intended, she fell off her camel, would be one way of translating it. This is precisely how Bethany responded the first time she saw me. Oh, I'm supposed to laugh at that one. Now, to be fair, this word translated as fall doesn't always get translated that way. It could just mean slipped off. But there's actually an important connection here in that word, apart from the humor I find it. Nafal, to fall. This is the same word used for an Abraham fell on his face in worship before God. The same word used for an Abraham fell on his face laughing at the idea of the promised child. There's a literary connection being drawn here with the main character falling down at a key moment in the covenant journey. And though this might seem simply to be a well-arranged marriage, we can tell that Rebekah has feelings for Isaac from the moment she saw him. The text also tells us that Isaac loved Rebekah. That's one of the few times actually in the Hebrew Bible they use the word love to describe the relationship between the husband and wife. St. Augustine of Hippo wrote about how God works through human agency, how human will is the primary mode through which God accomplishes God's purposes in the world. We've seen throughout the Abraham narrative how Abraham has learned to trust in God's promises. It does not mean doing nothing and hoping God will take care of things, but it also doesn't mean taking actions you know that are wrong in the hope of getting things to be the way you want them to be. Abraham's had to learn both of those lessons. Rather, it means being willing to yield yourself to God's word and being willing to make decisions in concert with that word. Rebekah could not have known she was to become the mother of Israel. All Rebekah knew was that she had a stranger in front of her who was thirsty and had some camels who were thirsty. And she knew that she as a human being had a responsibility to answer that need. And by expressing her agency, Rebekah helped bring about the very promises of God. I think this is where the will of God is usually worked out in the world. Rarely is it worked out through tremendous acts of faith or heroism or sacrifice. Rather, God's will is accomplished through the small daily choices you and I make. God is far more, certainly, than the cosmic matchmaker envisioned by the Christianity of my younger days, but God is interested in our faithfulness even when we make those sorts of decisions. It is the small and sometimes great daily choices we make, how we treat the stranger or the immigrant, how we care for our families, even how we love those God places in our path. It is through faithfulness in these small daily choices that the grand dream and promise of God is worked out even in our own time. Sometimes it is through an odd proposal that an even odder act of grace is realized and the world is changed just a little bit closer to God, dream, and hope for it.